All right, welcome to Real Men Real Kills TV, Nebraska post game video for the Michigan State game. We had a loss, but I know I called it as a win, but it was a damn close loss. In fact, it was in overtime that we lost. Definitely a very exciting game, and the score was so close. To be honest, yes, Nebraska, made a few mistakes, but it was very clear that the refs were not calling the game as fair as they could. I don't know why the NCAA hasn't really looked into this, but there were several critical moments where the refs made bad calls that shifted momentum away from Nebraska or prevented momentum from shifting to Nebraska. Now, there were some great calls by the refs as well against Michigan State, but there were also calls against Nebraska that were, quite frankly, unfounded. A prime example is the. This is a prime example. Calling false start on the center. Okay, this is the guy that snaps the ball. This guy literally can't false start. And they called a false start on him. It was a terrible call. He didn't bob his head. He didn't, do an illegal snap. Absolute shit call. Now, granted, yes, the old line could have been better again. They showed improvement over last week, though. They did show improvement over last week. Adrian looked great. Yes, he was out briefly for a minor injury. Nebraska looked pretty good for the most part. It seems like Culp kind of has act together when it comes to kicks. He never really had any, major challenges as far as that goes. All the field goal attempts were relatively short yardage as far as field goals are concerned. But he made every single one of them. I think Adrian Martinez did great. We possibly could have won the game in overtime if Martinez had thrown an interception in overtime. But that being said, all in all, it was a pretty impressive game for Nebraska. We took another top 25 team to the wire. In fact, Michigan State actually went up in rank, which I was surprised. I figured they would have dropped given that it went into overtime. They actually went up to 19th. We stayed level at 70th. Though we are receiving more votes again this week as far as that goes. With this being a loss, it makes the rest of the season that much more critical that we win some games if we want to make a bowl game, if Nebraska wants to make a bowl game. And I think we can pull it off because we're only 2-3 right now. Looking at the rest of the schedule, I'm not going to talk too much about the game because, quite frankly, it was there's not really too much to critique. I mean, the O-line could have been better, but that's nothing new. They were definitely better than they were last week, but they still need massive improvements. Penalties did hurt us, though some of those penalties were, well, put it this way, some of those penalties I don't think were the right call. In fact, some of them actually got turned over, but it still hurt kind of the whole flow of the game as far as that goes. Really, the NCAA needs to investigate the Big Ten referees and their blatant bias against Nebraska football. I don't know why it's like that, but that's the way it at least appears, and it warrants an investigation at the very least. Um, there's bad. There was a couple times where the ball maybe wasn't placed in the right spot. There was penalties that were called that didn't appear warranted. Um, you know, there was a lot of stuff that I'm just raising a lot of red flags as far as the referee corps. And I'm not trying to be one of those fans saying, oh, it's always the ref's fault. No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying objectively what I observed and what other people observed, and this has been commented on by sportscasters as well. If you really want to look into it, it's something that's been plaguing Nebraska ever since it joined the Big Ten, especially more so in recent years. I don't know what the Big Ten's problem with Nebraska is. I don't know what there's been tension between Nebraska and the Big Ten. The referee thing needs to be figured out. Now, looking at the rest of the schedule, I mean, we got to get at least 6 wins for a bowl game. Occasionally 5 will get you there, but we need at least 6. Looking at that, because we're 2-3 now. Northwestern, they're not looking good at all this year. I mean, I think we can take Northwestern and run with it, especially where it's in Lincoln, at Nebraska. I mean, I don't see why we can't beat Northwestern. Northwestern should be. It shouldn't be an easy game, but we should be able to count on the win against Northwestern. Michigan is coming to Nebraska. Michigan's going to be a challenge. Michigan, yeah, again, another top 25 team. Actually, where are they ranked? Sorry. Oh, I got some weird Discover card thing here. Hold on. Michigan. Where are they? There you go. Okay, they're 14th ranked team in the country. There we go. Now, okay, there we go. 14th ranked team in the country, going to be a challenge, but we've been taking these top 25 teams on our schedule and so far and making it a very close, very competitive game. Can we beat Michigan? I think we can. Will we? Yeah. It's one of those things where we got to take it one game at a time. First, we got to see what we do against Northwestern. Do we continue to improve? Does Nebraska continue to improve? That's the biggest question there. So Michigan, I'm going to give it a maybe. So we're going into Michigan. If we beat Northwestern, that puts us at 3-3. Let's say we lose to Michigan, that puts us at 3-4. Then we got Minnesota in Minneapolis. It's going to be a tough game because it's going to be in Minneapolis in the middle of October, and it gets cold up there. But Nebraska's not no stranger to the cold as well. So I don't think is Minnesota ranked. I can't remember. Okay, it looks like Minnesota is not in the top 25. Okay, they're the 41st team in the country. I think we can beat Minnesota. Just because one, they're looking okay. But anyways, let's say that's the case. After Michigan, we're 3-3. We beat Minnesota. That puts us at 4-4. Oh no, wait. Northwestern's 3-3. Michigan we lose. It's 3-3. So 4-4 if we beat Minnesota. Purdue. We take on Purdue in Lincoln, October 30th. Purdue is not looking the greatest either. I think it'll be an interesting game. Don't think Purdue's ranked. In fact, I'm almost positive. Purdue. Not in the top 25. They're 61st in the country. I think we can beat them. They're not ranked that much higher than we are. I think we can take them. Ohio State. Ohio State is going to be a challenge, guys. I mean, Ohio State's looking good. They're well up there in the top 25. I predict a close game with that one. Still, I think it's going to be a close game. Can we win? Yes. Will we? You know. But beating Purdue and Minnesota, lost to Michigan, win to Northwestern. I mean, we're looking at what? I think Purdue gives us 5 wins with Purdue. Ohio State, let's say we lose. Wisconsin's ranked, going to be a challenge. I'm pretty sure Wisconsin's ranked. Let's stay checked. Let me double check that. I want to make sure I'm getting. Yeah, Wisconsin's 17th. We'll see how Wisconsin looks. I mean, Wisconsin's getting kind of far out there. We don't know how Nebraska's going to look. We don't know how, that's going to play out. I think we can win. I think we can beat them. But again, challenge. Iowa, they're a national title contender. They're in the conversation. I think they're 6th in the country right now. So top 10 team. Going to be, again, something that we're going to really have to. I mean, the point is to get to a bowl, we need to upset either Iowa, Wisconsin, Ohio State, or Michigan. One of those 4 teams we absolutely need to upset. If we can upset all 4 of them, we're golden. I mean, that's winning every game left in the season. So, and given the way, being realistic, we're not going to win every game the rest of the season. Can we make it to a bowl game? Absolutely. I think it's definitely possible. It's just one of those things where it's really challenging right now to really put a pin on what games we're going to win, what games we're going to lose. And it's really due to we don't know from game, as far as these Big Ten teams go, we don't know from game to game whether the refs are going to be fair and balanced or if they're going to be playing for the other team. We don't know that. We don't know how the O-line's going to do. We don't know how Culp's going to do. Culp definitely looked better. We did have that really weird punt, but that wasn't Culp. That was the punter. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I don't really pay attention to that part of it, even though it is a very important element. I look at how Nebraska played. Nebraska did play pretty well. There were some mistakes. There were some bad calls. And if those mistakes had been made, if those bad calls hadn't been made, if the refs were completely fair and balanced with things, I think it would have been a very different game. I think Nebraska could have walked away with it. Just my own personal thoughts on it. I mean, watching the game, it was almost as if the refs hated to call a penalty on Minnesota State, or not Michigan State. I don't know why I said Minnesota State. Anyways, it seems like they hated to call penalties on them and hated when they had to overturn a penalty against Nebraska. Um, one of the things I noticed was before blowing the ball down, blowing the play dead, when Nebraska's runner had the ball, they would always wait for the defense to take our player down to the ground. When Michigan State had the ball, though, they would, blow it dead before, the ball was really dead. Um, it's one of those things where there's a certain unfairness to that as well. I mean, that's another prime example of what the refs did in the game. I really wish the NCAA would look into this and review it and investigate and figure out what the problem is. If it's just refs needing retrained or if there's actual bias. I mean, that's something that needs to be looked into. It needs to be done as soon as possible. It has plagued Nebraska for years. Now, and it only seems to get worse every year. Once we start really getting into the Big Ten schedule. I'm just saying. I mean, we really need to look into this. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be looked at, and I can't emphasize that enough. I'm not just saying that as a fan. I'm saying that as someone who wants to see every game be a fair and balanced game as far as the referees go and how they call the game. That being said, I'm going to make this a relatively short video today. I got my live stream I got to do here in a little bit. Come over to Twitch. I play some video games, have a good time. Haven't even decided what I'm going to play today. So I got to figure that out. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed. Be back with you guys hopefully Friday evening or Saturday morning with my pregame show for Northwestern. Go Big Red, and we'll catch you all later.